Hey there, lovely people. My name's Andre Daus. I'm a contrarian, I'm a maverick, and that means I do most of the things I do slightly different or completely different than most other folks would do. And this is especially true if it comes to IT stuff. Recently, I was talking with a friend about a page of mine, especially about the privacy policy, and he complained that the privacy policy contained Cloudflare as a necessary service. And he was asking, whom are we serving with that website? And I said, oh, well, this website is mostly targeting German clients, so it's Germany. And he said, then you don't need a CDN, so you don't need Cloudflare. And I said, what do you mean? He said, Cloudflare is a CDN. And if you're just targeting German clients, you don't need a CDN. That's overkill. And that means it's unnecessary, so you can get rid of it. I said, that's not quite true. Because CDN is Cloudflare is so much more than just a CDN. It also has security features, and those are the things I use Cloudflare for at the most, and not the CDN. Actually, I do not even enable the CDN for that website. But eventually that discussion led to nowhere, because if you discuss with someone who is convinced that Cloudflare is just a CDN, then it's not quite fruitful to continue the discussion. And recently I was migrating my servers from CyberPanel to Enhance, and they work quite well. And I realized that under Enhance, although I was using the same hardware from the same provider, it had some difficulties. It didn't run that smoothly as on CyberPanel. So I was checking the logs and realized that the server was not just serving websites, but was also quite busy in trying to fight against some script kiddies out there who try to break into my server. Or they're unsuccessful, but, well, it takes some resources off the server, which would be better used for running the web server and showing the websites, which was the main purpose of a web server, right? But we cannot just run a web server without having some access to the server itself, especially some SSH services. And that reminded me that I forgot to set up Cloudflare completely to the new server running on Enhance. And so I just decided to create this video just in case I had another discussion with someone who tries to explain me that Cloudflare is just as a CDN and cannot be used for security features only. So I show you what I did, and maybe you might rethink your strategy in securing your servers as well. So let's have a look. First of all, this is the Cloudflare website. You all know that if you once used Cloudflare. I'm not quite sure why the web page looks like this. So some time ago they changed the design and I find it terrible, but that's a different topic. So if you look at products, then you can see that we have a product, a CDN for application security and performance. So this is one of the products. It's not the main product of Cloudflare. It has distributed denial of service attacks, dynamic name servers, APIs, website, web application firewalls. It's so much more that Cloudflare provides, and you can see that on the main page as well. On the main page as well. Solutions. No, anyway. Where is that? There it is. There it is. Connect, protect, and build everywhere. This is the slogan of Cloudflare, right? So around their connectivity cloud, they connect branch offices, enterprise networks, users, and developers. This is what I'm mainly using. Public clouds, public internet, and SaaS applications. This is another part I use mainly from Cloudflare. And if you ever use Cloudflare for your DNS services, which I do as well, otherwise it won't work. So if you do not use Cloudflare as your DNS, then the whole thing doesn't work and you don't need to watch this video until the very end. But if you use Cloudflare, then you might consider changing your DNS settings from DNS only to proxied. And what this looks like is this. So I just set up a new service for a development domain. It's demo@littlebigco.dev. And this is how most people set it up. They just use the DNS functionality of Cloudflare. This is quite easy. That is not critical. It's not a privacy issue, because it just tells the browser what is the correct IP if you want to connect to this domain name, to this URL. And what you're doing with this setting is you're exposing the real IP of your hardware, of the server, to the one who's trying to access it, which usually, if it's a normal user, isn't a big problem, because they just want to see what's on the page. But sometimes there are also malicious users out there who just want to get the IP to access and try to attack the IP and the server directly. And I show you what this means in a minute. So what I did here is just using an IPv4. This is the A type, and the AAAA. This is the IPv6. My server usually has both IP addresses, so I connected both. So what does it mean? If we just, let's just open a terminal. And if we just ping demo littlebigco.dev, there it is. That's it. We do not want to see more. Then we can see that this URL is resolved to this IP address. This is what the DNS does, right? This is precisely what Cloudflare did at this time. So it just showed if you asked for this subdomain on this top-level domain, or on this domain with the top-level domain, then it gives you this IP address, and then the browser can connect to this IP address. So far, so good, as easy as possible. If we try to simply open the page, that is this one. That's just a WordPress page. Didn't do anything. I just installed it. It's plain vanilla WordPress. No plugins, no nothing. That's the current version, 6.6.1 at this time. So if we can reload it, this is how it works, right? So the DNS is working, the web server is working, all good. But if we look into it into more detail, then we can see if we go onto the server, and this is what I figured out when I was realizing my server behaved differently than the old production server. If you go into demo, there we are, and go into the log files. Just have a look at the log files. This is it. The interesting one is the auth log. And the server is just a couple of days old, right? And I just reinstalled it this morning, a couple of hours ago, because I originally installed it as a Debian server, and Enhanced doesn't work with Debian. So I needed to reset it up to Ubuntu. Why ever? So they're just supporting Ubuntu, and that's the reason why I just set it up a couple of hours ago. And the auth log is from that time. So let's see what we can see here. If we use tail -f. Tail -f means we just look at the last part of this text file, and the f command says if the file changes, then show us the changes right away. And if we just open it, and you can see that, whoa, there's someone trying to get into the server. It's not me. I'm already in. And we can see it's a failed password, invalid user, whoops, invalid user whatsoever, invalid user YC, failed password for invalid user YC, again. And you can see that there is an IP address the R host here. This is the IP address where the that is tried to log in came from. And if we look at that, just let me have a look at the log file again. There it is. And you can see it is always the same IP address. It's not mine. We can check what this IP address is. If we go into whois.com, enter your enter an IP address. It's a Linux server. So someone just bought a Linux server. Mostly due to because it's quite cheap. It's easy to spin up a new server. Just costs a couple of dollars, and then they can run their scripts. Most probably they bought just one file from the darknet with some usernames and passwords, and now they're just trying to get into the server with these username and passwords. It doesn't look like a brute force attack, because if that would be true, then they usually have one username and try to use different passwords. That's the common brute force attack, but this might also be one, because if just check this, he's still active. So it looks like a script is running and it hits the server again and again and again, and now the server is quite busy just telling this user that the login data is not accepted. It's an invalid password. Actually, the password doesn't work at all, because you can just log in with a certificate, but they don't care. They just try, right? So if you want to get rid of this, then you might need to switch to the security features in Cloudflare. And how do we do this? First of all, what is necessary is that we change. Oh, there's another one. Just look at the server, right? This is the server. This is my current server. And the server has firewalls. If I set up a new server on Hetzner, which is my provider for all my servers, if you set up a new server, then it asks you for firewall settings. And that's quite nice. I have some settings already set up. So I need my enhanced control server so that it can connect to this new server. And if you look at this, then it just uses the IP address of the enhanced control server and goes to any port. So that server can access any port from the outside. Then, of course, I set up port 80, and port 80 is necessary for Let's Encrypt. They use HTTP only. They don't use HTTPS, which is understandable, because if you create the Let's Encrypt certificate for the first time, then the server usually doesn't have a certificate, and then HTTPS would fail because, well, there is no certificate. That's the reason why they use HTTP port 80 for that. So that's the only reason why I open this port. Otherwise, I would just open the 443, which is the HTTPS port. And the ICMP protocol, don't ask me for that one. If I do not use that, if I do not add that, then it doesn't work. But anyway, so the most important ports are these two. And to connect to the server via SSH, which I do via console here, this is any IP to port 22. So any IP is because I do not have a fixed IP address. So my IP address from my internet provider changes over time, and if I add a specific IP address to this firewall rule, and my provider changes the IP address, then it won't work anymore. So that's the reason why I need to let anyone access port 22, which in fact leads to this precise problem, that everyone can access port 22 as well. Yeah, so this seems to be the problem. So the first step that I usually do is, oh, that's the wrong one, where we go, here. First of all, I change the proxy status to proxied. That means if someone is accessing demo.littlebigcode.dev in this case, or any other domain I connect to via Cloudflare, then it does not reveal this IP address. I show you what that means. So let's save this and just save the IPv6 as well. So if we now, we can stop that, just open a new tab, and then we ping demo littlebigcode.dev again. There we go. Now it shows us a totally different IP address. Why is that? Why is Cloudflare now showing us a different IP address than the original one? Cloudflare is now hiding my original IP address behind their IP addresses. And if you look at this IP address, is this who is? Just check this one. And you can see this is Cloudflare. It's no longer Linode. This is Cloudflare. It's also not my provider, but it's the IP address of Cloudflare because I changed the DNS settings to proxied. So now every user who wants to get to the current page hits Cloudflare, and Cloudflare routes everything through their cloud, through their network onto my server. So what does it mean for the website? Hopefully nothing. Yes, it's still working. It's still working because the website doesn't care where the user came from. If it came from a direct connection, or if it came via Cloudflare, or it came via a Tor network, or via a whatsoever, the website doesn't care. It is just important that it's rooted there, so the user can see the page still, even if it's on the proxied Cloudflare, on the Orange cloud. But what does it mean in particular? That means that once we change the proxy status to proxied through Cloudflare, we can utilize all the security features from Cloudflare. That means we can create our own rules. For instance, we can add page rules. I don't have any page. This is the dev site. I don't have any page rules here. But we have transform rules where we can modify the response header, for instance. So let's create a rule here. We have manage transforms where we can add security headers, for instance. Boom. So now it adds security headers automatically without us having to touch our web server. The web server currently is running Lightspeed, and usually I would need to add those headers to Lightspeed so that I can prevent XSS scripting attacks. Now Cloudflare does that because it's just adding the headers to the responses. Because everything is routed through Cloudflare, I can easily add those response headers to Cloudflare. I can do that centrally without ever touching my my current Lightspeed servers, which is quite convenient because I can do this for the whole domain here. So that will work. But anyway, that's just one part. So we can also add some, you can see the traffic sequence. We can also add denial of service attacks. So we can do something. We can do URL rewrites. If we move from another subdomain to a new domain or whatsoever, from a subdirectory to the main directory, then we can add URL rewrites. We do not need to do that in HDXS, for instance. We can do everything directly in Cloudflare, which is very, very convenient. We can also eliminate bots. So if you do not want Google visiting our page, we can simply block Googlebot. So nobody usually does want to do that, but The Googlebot was the first one that came to my mind. So don't block the Googlebot. And you can even add workers, but this is a totally different topic. Sometimes I use workers as well, but that's a totally different topic. So what does it mean now? What does it mean for the problem of the user trying to break into the server? Let's have a look. The malicious user is still active. He's still trying to get in. Why does that work? Because even, where are my DNS? Here, DNS. So it's demo. Because these ones are only targeting HTTP or HTTPS. It does not targeting, it does not help against SSH in this particular case. And also we did not change anything on the firewall. So that means the original IP address, once someone knows that, is still reachable from everywhere, because this is what the firewall rule said, right? So in order to make this work properly, we need to change these IP addresses. And we do this, as we just saw. Well, it's not the wrong one, this one. As we just saw, if we get onto the website, it will come via this IP address. That means what we need to whitelist in our firewall here are just the Cloudflare IPs. And Cloudflare has their own IP addresses and they publish them via Cloudflare IP addresses. These are the lists of IP addresses. As you can see, it's an IPv4 list and an IPv6 list. And from time to time, they change it, and they also have an update history. They do not change it often, but you should check that from time to time, so not to miss anything. Otherwise, the site won't be reachable. So let's have a look. So this is the list in pure text form. Just copy these. And we add them to, so just let us check, not just from any IP address, but just from the Cloudflare IP addresses, right? And we do the same for IPv6, but IPv6, we need different ones. So just let's take this one, IPv6, yep. We add those to, just name this Cloudflare IPv4, oh, 4, Cloudflare IPv6, nope, 6. Congratulations, that was the wrong one. Do the same here. We will change that slightly. Let's call it IPVs. No, not any. Just add those. So now I added all the IPv4s and IPv6 to this page. And then we can use all copy, move them in here, move them in here. So call this IPs. These are also Cloudflare IPs. Double entries here. Okay. First need to remove them, then enter them. Come on. Yeah, it's okay. So double entries will be ignored. So just save that. And now the question is, can we still reach the web server? So let's have a look. Where is the web server? This one. Well, it's still working. Still working. That's good, because now we are coming from an official Cloudflare IP address, because the server just realizes the IP address from Cloudflare right now. And if someone tries to access the server directly via those ports, it won't work, because the firewall on the server would block them. So we allowed Cloudflare IPs to port 80 and to port 443. But there's still one problem. We have firewalls. We still have the SSH open to anywhere. So that's a problem, because if we change that as well, let's try this. Remove them, enter just the Cloudflare IPs. Boom, save. There we go. So now what happens? Nothing happens. So we're still on the server. Let's try to get out of here. Connection closed. Let's get into it again. And so the connection was still established. Even if we changed the firewall, we were already in. But right now, we are not coming from an official Cloudflare address. That's a problem, because I try to access the server directly. So what we could use, not quite sure if that will work. Let's try this demo. Does that work? Oh, difficult. Let's try this one. Demo. Dev. Still not working. That's a problem, right? And the reason for that is because in the proxy, Cloudflare usually does not proxy port 22. So they usually block certain ports. And I believe 22 is one of the ports that are not allowed via the orange cloud in the DNS settings. So this will time out too. And now we do not have any chance to get into the server. So now what are we doing now? And as I just said, Cloudflare does not just offer DNS or CDN. They also offer some more features to help you improving the security. And one of those is tunnels. We can create a tunnel. As you can see, I have a couple of tunnels up here. Some are down, some are inactive. What we need is a new tunnel on the web server. But to establish that, we first need any just save it. So I just change the firewall rules again so that everyone can log in again. SSH demo. There we go. So let's see if that even stopped the script kiddie. Oh, for breaking into the server. Oh, that's me. Looks good. Maybe just stop them for a short time period, but trust me, we'll be back after some time. Ah, there he is again. Authentication failure. Log name. We are in game again. Now they try to root. There are different IP addresses now. Failed password for root. So because we for a certain time we stopped this script running. They might have stopped the script, and now we are targeting another server. But trust me, they will be back in a certain time frame. Now they're coming from different IP addresses again for the user root. See? That's interesting. That's the same IP address. It's not mine again. Anyway, let's see what happens there. What we need to do, though, is we need to install a Cloudflare tool, which is, where are my tunnels? Are there P ranges, B ranges? Where is it? Tunnels, this one. I need to update some of the Cloudflare daemon. This is the tool that creates a tunnel. And the beauty of it is the daemon is installed on the machine, and the daemon is the one who creates a tunnel to the Cloudflare network. So it's not from the outside to the inside, but from the inside to the outside. And the daemon is always running and always establishing a tunnel where you can access the server. I'll show you how this works. So first of all, we need to install it. Because we have a Linux one, we use the package repository. So currently it's Ubuntu 24.04. They do not yet have a package for that, but trust me, it also works with the 22 version. So we're just copying this piece of information. Because I'm root, I can install it. Take some time. Oops, done. So now we have the Cloudflare daemon running on this particular server. And if we want to, where's this? Tunnels, this one. So now we create a new tunnel. We are creating a tunnel with the Cloudflare daemon. This is the one we just installed on the server. Click on next. We name this. We just name this demo tunnel. Save the tunnel. So what we now need is a connector. So you could either just use Debian would work. So you could either install and connect the tunnel right with this command, but I found it more reliable if I just install the Cloudflare daemon as I just did, and then I just connect this tunnel, this server with this current tunnel we created on Cloudflare. So just copy this piece on the right hand side. We're just pasting it in here, It has attached a key where the Cloudflare network is exactly knows what Cloudflare daemon we are now connecting to. And I just move this up, and you can see down here below connectors. Your connectors will automatically show here once Cloudflare daemon has been successfully installed on your machine. And this is what we now do with this service install. Boom, searching for connectors, boom, it's connected. That's it. So we got a connector ID, and right now the Cloudflare daemon on the server is connected to a tunnel in the Cloudflare network. So this doesn't do anything yet. Still. So what we need is something that needs to connect to this particular tunnel. And you can either use a public host name. We could use, if you want to, you could use the SSH directly within the browser. I used that once. It's pretty cool, but it doesn't help me because usually I use a special application for that, or I use just the console, and then the browser window isn't sufficient. So what I do is I do not use a public host name. I use a private network. So what I am currently doing is adding a private network to this demo tunnel. How do I do this? I need the original IP address. And the original IP address is the one from the server. This is this IP address. So we use this IP address in the tunnel. Use this, and we need to add a mask because it needs to be CIDR compatible. That means if we want to target only this particular IP address, then we need a mask of 32. That works. So 32, that means we are using precisely this IP address. We could also use the 1, for instance. It would also be valid, but now it would include an IP address range from 116.0.0.0 until 116.255.255.255. That's not what we want. We just want to target this particular IP address, and the largest one is 32. And we call this is the demo server. That's the description. Save the tunnel. Now we have the demo tunnel. It's a connector type is Cloudflare daemon. We have an ID. We have a tunnel ID. We have a route to our private IP address, which is no longer public. As soon as we close down the SSH firewall rule, and it's healthy. So that's good news. Now, what we can do is go back to our server, go to the firewall. First of all, let's check this again. There he is again. 180.101.88.229. So that's a new script, and he's targeting root with different passwords, I guess. So that's looks more like a brute force attack, because he always tries to log in as root. Tries to do that again and again. Not that fast, because usually you get blocked or banned. So it's not that fast as the first one. But if we now close down the SSH firewall rule, just remove it. So now we have rules for incoming rules to the server from the enhanced control server, which is necessary. That's our server, and it's just one IP address. And if you look at this, then you can see that it has also the CIDR address /32. So it's only this particular address. This is my control server. And for the HTTPS, we didn't change anything. Everything is coming through Cloudflare. So now, if you want to access this particular server, you can only get into via Cloudflare. You need to go all the security measurements I set up within Cloudflare, or you can come through the enhanced control server, which has the same setup included as well. So you always need to go through Cloudflare. You cannot access the server directly anymore. But what does that mean for us? So last time I closed down the firewall rule, set it to Cloudflare only IPs. Now I removed it entirely, and that means usually we are not able to connect to the server anymore, right? So watch this. Boom, we're in. We're in. So we are still in the server. And if we go to var log, so the only thing I can see in the log now is myself. So this is me. No, that's not me. That's the last one. Oh no, that's me. That's me. That's right. That's just a wrong setting, but that's me. Accepted public key for root from the local IP address. Yeah, that's right. Now it comes from the local IP address. That's why it's working, because we are now going through the tunnel. But we're not quite done yet. That is currently the problem, because this is currently working for my server, and my server might be different to your for my machine, and my machine is different to your machine. And the reason is, if you look at this particular Cloudflare icon that says zero trust, I am connected to zero trust to the Cloudflare gateway. This is the WARP client. It's called the WARP client. WARP by Cloudflare. WARP has two different versions. One is for everyone. You can simply install it, and then it's the 1111 service, including some WARP add-ons. I don't know how this works. And it's usually orange. It's an orange color. But if you use the Cloudflare gateway with the WARP client, then it is blue. So each time it is blue, it's called zero trust. And then I can disconnect. It's similar to a VPN. And it works on all my machines. It also works on iOS devices, not just on the Mac. So if I disconnect, now I'm disconnected, you can see it's great. The cloud is great. And, oh, come on. Oh, what's going on here? It's blocked already, right? So let's just open a new window. So let's try to get into again. It doesn't work. So you can see it will time out. And the reason is I'm no longer connected to the gateway. And the gateway is the other part of the tunnel. So what I now did is connecting the server via a tunnel to the gateway. And the gateway is the one I use, only I use in my organization, in my company, in my agency. And I can give access to this Cloudflare icon, to the gateway, to all employees, even to external ones. And I can precisely define who has access to which server. That will work. So in my agency, which is a very small agency, we just have two people working here. It's quite easy. We have access to everything, so that's easy. But if you have more people and you say we have just developers who should develop on development servers and not on the production servers, and we have some product managers who should look after the production side or whatsoever, then you can use that with Cloudflare as well. Now it timed out. So let's log into again. It's connecting. Everything is running through the gateway now. It also protects me from malware coming from the internet or trying to come from the internet to my machine. Even it's a Mac, it's blocked by Cloudflare automatically. And if I now try to log in again, boom, it's there. And the only reason why I do not need to add any password or passkeys here is because it's still open. So if I close down Warp again, open Warp, it's also called Warp, but this is the Warp console, and the other thing is the Cloudflare Warp application. So if I now SSH into demo again, then it will ask me for the key. It's protected by one password. Boom, we're in. And the same is true for any access to WordPress. So if someone tries to log into your WordPress server, you will see the same results in the server log, in this case in the Lightspeed server log. ScriptKit is trying to get into the server, which can be prevented as well. But because this is a relatively new domain and sub-level domain, and I just installed it, almost no one knows it. It's just the demo site. So that's the reason nothing is happening right now there. So if you have a more established site, then you can see in the log files that a lot of people trying to get into the server try to find any flaws in WordPress and any WordPress plugins whatsoever. So you can prevent this with Cloudflare as well. I used CrowdSec in the past, and CrowdSec doesn't have much to do because there's not very much in the log files that can be analyzed by CrowdSec, but that's a different topic. If you want to set up, where is it? It's too many tabs open. Just need to close those tabs. Don't need this anymore. Don't need this. Tunnels. Here we go. Here's the gateway. And here is the gateway. Don't have this here. DNS locations. So here's the DNS location. So I created a gateway which is connected to the Warp client, and I created a home network. The home network is where I am. So the tunnel from the server to Cloudflare is now connected to the home network, so nobody else can go there. It even works if we, now look at this, it's demo, little big co dev. So if we, wrong one, demo, little big co dev /wp admin. If you want to go to the login, and this also quite difficult sometimes to protect. So some people try to hide it, which is not a good idea. But you can also protect it if it's behind Cloudflare, and it's quite easy. If we did what we did so far, then just let me check for the access. If you use the access, then we can create a new application. It's self-hosted because that's what we do. We have an application name here, which is our demo site. Session duration is 12 hours. The subdomain is demo. The domain is little big co dev. There we go. And what we try to protect here is the wp-login.php. So we're just protecting this particular one. Next, save this. We need a policy. We call this the Warp client. And we only allow it after a service authentication. Session duration is the same as the application one. and the selector is the gateway. Just use the gate. Just let me move the video outside here. The gateway. So yeah, that's it. So I go back to the corner so you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah, click next. Did I forget anything? No, next. There we go. I think there's nothing we need to change here. Add this application. Boom, now we have a demo site, which go to demo.littlebico.dev.wp login PHP. So that's awesome, because if we now go to demo.littlebico.dev-wp admin. Oh, well, it works. Awesome. That's good news. So now let's try to turn off the gateway again. So this is, if you try to get into this server, so it doesn't live too long, but wpw admin. Forbidden. You don't have access. I could also give you access if I would have not just used the gateway as the authentication method. I could also use an email address. I could also use some OTP provider. I could use social logins. Would all work. But in my case, if I need to work on a particular site, I usually protect the whole site with Cloudflare access. And if I need to access it, then I just turn on the zero trust, connect to the gateway. Now I can't simply refresh because that is already the Cloudflare site. But we can here go to this one again, reload, and now I can sign in. If only I knew the password. I usually log in via Enhance, automatic magic password, my magic login key, but that's the reason why I don't know the password yet. But yeah, this is how I protect WordPress sites and servers. And it works pretty well because it's quite convenient, because I just need to connect to my gateway, and it works on my mobile, it works on my tablet, it works on any machine, it even works on Windows machines, I guess, because the Warp gateway client is also available for Windows. And if you install it from within your Cloudflare dashboard, then it's pretty easy to set it up, because Cloudflare does everything for you and connects it automatically to your account. And then you just need to protect the server, just hide the IP address from any prying eyes out there. And then you don't have any hassles with script kiddies, some malicious intruders, or trying to intrude into your server. And that's quite impressive how that works. And that's the reason why Cloudflare is a necessity to protect my server, and also protect the data on my server. And sometimes I have also membership sites I manage for clients, and for those sites, it's even more important that these are protected from any malicious activities outside of the internet. And by doing so, it's the server is just busy serving web pages and not busy trying to block any malicious attempts. So if you have questions, then just email me at andre@littlebig.co. Yeah, if you try to implement this yourself, then everything is in the video, and that's it for me. So we just used 1 hour now. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. See you next time. I'm out. Bye-bye.